So I would like to explain briefly what we mean by perform culture. The main thing to keep in mind is that we're talking about essentially we're talking about goals and assessments. And the goals are goals that we establish for adults learning to communicate in Chinese as a foreign language. That's basically it. The big complication here is culture, because obviously that is a concept that is not understood well and is understood differently in different contexts. So we were looking at, for Chinese as a foreign language, a definition of culture that will apply specifically to people learning to communicate in Chinese culture. And so culture becomes something of an activity rather than a thing. So we usually say that the culture is what people do in a particular place or for particular purposes. And that's how we think about culture in Chinese as a foreign language. It is, what are we asking our students to do in order to get them to do things that we think that will benefit them in the future. We think of culture as a concept that presents context for communication. So there's certain contexts that occur in communicating in Chinese that doesn't occur in other languages, such as English or Japanese. There are some that maybe overlap. We don't have to worry too much about those. But at these conflicting contexts where communication exists, that we have to pay attention to. So you identify and present useful context to our students, and then we get them to show that they know what to do in those contexts. Showing showing that you can do what you need to do is where performance comes in. People have to actually do it. And we as teachers have to observe it. And we have to judge whether or not what the students or what the learners are doing is going to benefit them in the future. We identify what is best to do in these contexts, then we perform them and we assess them. We assess the students' performances. The main thing for us to keep in mind is that we just have to ask learners to do what will be useful to them in the future. And we have to understand that assessing presupposes that proficiency tests in either academic or government environments are not that useful. They may be a metric, some kind of a program metric, but as for telling you what the learners can do, proficiency doesn't work. Whereas performance, portfolios, people doing what they are supposed to be able to do in the language, those are much more accurate indicators of what people have learned to do and what we have taught them to do as a program.